Hello everyone and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm Julia and I'm glad you're here today. Last week we made this card out of a scrap pile that I pulled off of my paper rack, and I want to go ahead and continue down the road of using up this pile of scraps. This is just an example of what I have on the paper rack over there to use up this year, and so I thought we would continue to work on through this pile. Now, you remember, if you saw that video, that I had some 6x12 pieces, and we used two of them in making this card. And so I cut the other few that were left down into 6x6 pieces. And what I thought we would do with these on Sunday is to go back to the templates workbook and do some combination template cards, just to kind of step up that workbook a little bit. I do have workbooks available. If you're interested in ordering one, please email me. I can't send them out to you any other way. So what we have today is this little pile of scraps. And remember, I put some paper towel on that card that we made last week, and I had one little piece, well, one little set of paper towel left, and it was this, I don't know if I can get it where you can see it, but it was this little typewriter and butterfly. And so I thought maybe I would make 2 and possibly 3 little embellishments with that today. And then I got into my stamps. Well, before we get started, sorry, brain fade. I wanted to share this lovely card that I got in the mail from Debbie, and she ordered one of my workbooks, and she sent me just a lovely thank you note. And so I thought I'd read it to you because it's very sweet. And she says, "Julia, thank you for sharing your talent on YouTube. I have learned so much. The template workbook is a gem. Also, the cardstock you sent me is beautiful. Take care, Debbie." And isn't that just precious? I love getting cards from you all, and I don't know that I've ever actually mentioned it or not, but my P.O. box is in the description box below. So if you ever wanted to send me a card, you'd be welcome to do that, and I would appreciate it. So let me show you what I worked on this morning to get into the kind of concept of making our own embellishments when we run out of commercial embellishments like what we have here. So today's video is going to be about making some embellishments with this little pile of scrap here that I want to get used up on that paper that we're going to use Sunday. And so I've made several impressions of butterflies, some of which are better than others, and you know that how that goes. But I used some older inks on these. Let me show you what they were. Raspberry Ripple, Blushing Bride, which is not that old, and Bravo Burgundy. So those are what the inks that I used, along with, of course, my gray flannel Memento and my black Memento inks. So I've got some butterflies and a couple of keys. I made some typewriters, and this one says, "You are my type of friend," which I thought was a fun little sentiment to go with that. I have some little canceled stamp images here. This little piece of paper has some gray ink on it, and so I thought maybe that might kind of work with that a little bit. Let me show you the stamps that I pulled out. Now, I have a fairly extensive stamp collection organized by subject. So, for example, when I want a butterfly stamp, I go to the one of 4 butterfly drawers. Yes. I know it's craziness, but I love stamps and I love pretty things. So when I see something that I don't have in my inventory that I just really like, I like to spend my money on that kind of thing. So we haven't used stamps in a whole long time, and I thought we'd get some out today and use them. That was a Stampin' Up! Stamp, and this is a Hero Arch. They're both the same size. This little key came from Hobby Lobby, I believe, clearance rack. This little typewriter is an old stamp that I got from hot off the press paperwishes.com. It's 2013. And these butterflies are, I don't even know if these are still available. They might be. It's 2018, again, Paper Wishes. I pulled some older Stampin' Up! Sets out, and I used this one and that one. This is a 2003 set called Friendship's Journey, and it has some really nice vintagey looking stamps. And I made an impression of the sentiment stamp, which says friendship is a journey of time, love, and memories. I thought that was sweet, so I made a couple of impressions of that. And this set, I don't think I pulled any stamps out of, but I want to remember this postage cancel and this little postage stamp here. We may need to use something like that, or maybe this little inkwell in finishing up these little bits and pieces of ephemera. So I thought I would show you all the stuff I pulled out of the drawers today to even start the process. I also pulled out a Take 10 magazine. And let me see, I need to get it in frame first. There, I think we can see most of it now. And see, there's some very simple cards here and here, but this is the one that always, when I turn to this page, catches my eye. And I hope you can see that. But you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers on that card, plus a nice tied piece of ribbon and one jewel on that. It's basically monochromatic with an accent color. There is a torn edge here, but it's just a really nice composition. I always like this one also. And again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you count this, 6, 7, 8 layers on this card, and it just adds a lot of interest to it. And none of these layers are complicated. They're all basic, either rectangle or square shapes, and they're easy to produce out of scraps. So let's kind of keep those in mind as we build a few things to use on our cards next Sunday. And what I'm going to do with these is fussy cut them, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got all the fussy cutting done. And so now what I want to do is put this leftover paper tulle together into a couple of embellishments. And the first piece I want to start with is this one. And then I cut a section out of the pink that will kind of mirror the shape of the inside. See how it has these little punches on the corners there. And I'm just going to glue these down so that I get a little more structure. If you remember, this paper tulle was really lightweight. I've had it for years, and it came from Paper Wishes. I doubt that it is still available at all. But I'm just going to put another piece of paper on here just to kind of strengthen this little piece. And then I want to go ahead and put some foam on this typewriter. Let me see. I think I might like to use this smaller one here and foam it up so that it will give just a little bit of extra dimension on that. And this is what the paper tulle is actually designed for, is to put some foam layers between, and it makes a more of a 3D image that way in your card structure. So it's a fun element, but you don't have to buy commercial pieces to make your own decoupaged elements. You can do that by using stamps, and I'm hoping that we'll get a little bit of that done here today. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my second piece on here. And then this has a little butterfly with it. So we're going to go right back over the top of that typewriter that's there, the original piece. And there we go. And it has another, what happened to it? I think it's right here, another little butterfly. So I'm going to put some glue on that and raise my wings up and just put a little drop of glue right down here in the middle of the body of that butterfly for just a little extra dimension on that piece. And I have some extra, it takes a little while for this the glue to tack up because it's kind of got a little shine to the paper, but it does eventually tack up and then hold. So I have another little butterfly here that I thought maybe we'd put off to the side here, but before we do, let me think about maybe using this little piece here, since I have it right here underneath that, and perhaps one of these "You're My Type of Friend" sentiments. I'm wondering, well, a circle won't do that, so let me just cut this on my cutter. I don't have a cutting die handy right here that would be small enough for this, so I'm just going to put it on my paper trimmer and trim it. And you'll notice that the color on this is a little wonky. It's because I had to use two different types of alcohol markers. I used this kind of yellow-brown color, and then I used a gray-brown color from another set just to kind of get it in there. And I think I'll try to add a little bit of that corner treatment. Well, maybe not. I think I'll round the corners. Where's my corner rounder? Here we go. I'm going to use my little small corner rounder on this. I think it'll add just a little bit of extra interest in that little piece there. There we go. I need to do just a little trim here. There we are. You're My Type of Friend. Needs a little piece of extra dimension here somewhere. So let's go back to our pile of stuff here and see if we can find something that will give a little more interest back behind that. And there's a little piece right like that. So let's take our decorative scissors now and do another little edge treatment here on this one. Decorative scissors are a good way to quickly and easily make a piece of ephemera more interesting that way. Okay, and then we've still got a butterfly to go on that. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this one down flat. I think this pair of tweezers is about to wear out. It's kind of losing its little tweezer grip. Goodness, it's been through the ringer. Those little tweezers have served me well for years, and I won't mind buying another pair if I need to. So there's that. I'm going to put this up on a little piece of foam just for a little extra dimension on the sentiment itself. I'm going to pull it over this way a little bit. There we are. And then we have another little butterfly. And I'm just going to put it up on a little piece of foam also, just to raise it up a bit. And I'm not going to do the wings on that one since we did the wings on the other one. And then we have a second little typewriter that I thought I would make a... Here, let's put that one right there. Then we have our trio of butterflies here, you see. And dimension and just a lot of interest. So that will be nice on the front of one of these cards that we're going to make this weekend. Let's look at this other piece here. And I thought I would start out with a brown, and I may change my mind and turn that to black. I'm not sure. And then maybe this, and a little brown there, and a little more here. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the brown starting point right here. Interestingly, it has a little typewriter on it. These I'm just putting down flat, but I have done the corner treatment on them. Paper keeps slipping on my tweezers. Okay, those going in the trash. I'll get another pair. There we go. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little white edge here, so I'm going to take my black Sharpie chisel point and put a little black edge around this just to get rid of that white, because I don't like that white paper core showing when I'm doing this. There we go. And I believe I'll put a piece of foam underneath this piece, and then we'll set the white piece down on it flat and glue it up that way. Something like that. And then this piece I'm going to do, I think, a little black edge on it as well. But I am going to push it off to the side. Just a little touch there. And then I'm going to bring this little typewriter in. But before I do that, I wanted to see how one of these little guys would look. And it looks pretty good there, doesn't it? It doesn't look as good as this, of course, because it doesn't have all the artwork. But you can put a little butterfly on that, and maybe something else to go with it. Another little butterfly, perhaps a second one there, and make a little trill. Let's just do this one that way. And I think what I'll do is just put some glue on the back. And when I'm making my own ephemera like this, I kind of like to have the edges a little uneven. So when your eye's coming around, you pick up the different elements on it. Like you can see here how much, it's not a square or a rectangle, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. And that, I think, is what makes things a little more interesting. Now I'm going to glue this butterfly right down flat, kind of in the same position as this one is, just so we can kind of look at it and see what we think. There we go. And then I'm going to take this other one and put it over there on that side. And just let the dimension on this piece be those circle punches. Very easy card embellishment to make. Probably will put a few little gems on this for a little extra interest. I could put a couple of little keys on here, perhaps. Don't really like that color with that too terribly much. We could add it to a piece like this, and that would be a nice size embellishment to add to a card front. So why don't we go ahead and do that on this piece right here, and go ahead and do something with the corners so that it will tie it in together, and that'll use up another one of these little pieces of scrap that we've just got sitting over here waiting to be used. Maybe something like that, and then perhaps a little brown stripe down there. Let's put the brown stripe down the center. Ooh, I kind of like that too. That might be a little more dramatic. Let's look at that. Well, I think we'll go with the black. It pulls the black from the typewriter into the piece, doesn't it? Let's do it that way. I think making embellishments like this is most fun, and I hope you all enjoy it as well, and we'll get some ideas for your cards from this little video. Just kind of as a nod to doing a few things that maybe you're not used to doing, perhaps. So there is embellishment number 2. It has a nice little shape going on there. And certainly you could add more to this, but I think we'll stop right there on that one and go back and pick this piece up and see if perhaps we can utilize a little something else over here in making a backer for this piece. That would work. That has a little nice composition on the back there. The color's not quite what I would hope for. However, perhaps if we add a little pink background to that, it'll kind of tone those two color differences down some. So let's see here. Maybe I'll put a little decal edge on that. And to do that, I'm going to get my Tim Holtz decal edge trimmer and just cut this down a little tiny bit. Not enough to measure at all. There we go. So there's that little piece there with the decal edge. And to accent that, I'm going to go ahead and put my black Sharpie to work again and put it like this. There, we'll see how that looks. Maybe look at this side. Oof. Well, now we have a choice, don't we? Something like that, perhaps, and maybe another little butterfly here that we have made. Let's just see. That black's a little intense for me, but that's a little washed out, isn't it? Okay, let me try something. Just because I can, and I think I'm going to get an alcohol marker and see if I can put just a little color on this piece right here. Just a tiniest little bit more color. And I think I will use this pink if it works with the paper itself. Let me get a piece of scratch paper here. Yeah, that might work. Okay. Alright, so now when that dries up just a little bit, we can go ahead with this concept right here and maybe tone it back just a little bit with a little bit of brown then. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a round over corner on this one when I found my punch. There we go. Let's try the little corner first. I'm not sure that's quite enough, so I'm going to move up to the middle one here. Yeah, that's a little better. There we go. I like to make ephemera for specific projects. I don't do well making ephemera just to be making ephemera because I find it a little bit more challenging to use than you'd think it would be. I'm going to cut this piece back down a little bit here and just see where we go with that. I'm going to glue these pieces down. We're going to maintain that interest around the outside of the piece, first with the decal edge, and then with this additional little piece of brown accent here. And we may go back in and add a larger piece, but let's wait on that and see where this ends up going. I believe I'll put a little piece of foam tape up underneath this to give it some dimension. And I want to take my piece and hang it off the side enough that it makes an uneven edge there. See, like this. And then if I wanted to, I could go ahead and put an extra little piece of pink maybe down here across the edge like this, and put a different little edge on it with some of these little edging scissors, decorative edge scissors. I have a set of these here on the desk that are really nice to have for doing a little accent when you don't feel like fooling around with stuff too awfully much. So let's just see where this goes then. Maybe right like that. Let's add it in and see what it looks like. Oh, there's that one now. Now we need to decide whether we want to add this extra butterfly. It doesn't have the brown on it that this does. I don't care too much for the color on that one. Let me fussy cut this one and see what it looks like, because I don't think I have any more of these commercial butterflies out here left over from that paper pack at all. I think we've used them all. I might take just a little bit of brown alcohol marker, and I'll use this lighter colored one. Let's see what this does. Kind of as a little specimen there. There. And I think that'll be fine. Let me see if another one of these little sentiments won't fit right there. And that'll kind of tie that brown in with it just a little bit. And you'll notice I'm going to offset that just a little bit there, just for a little extra bit of interest. I think that's going to be a nice little embellishment to add to the front of the card. So we've got 3 of them. I'm going to try to use some of these butterflies now. And I have a piece here that has a butterfly on it. So let me trim that down just a little bit. It has a key over here on this side, so let's save the key. There's a key there also, and a little clock. This is kind of an interesting little piece here, isn't it? Let's see what we can make with that. This is a 4.5 inch piece. I'm going to cut it down to 4 1/4, just barely saving that butterfly. And I think I have another typewriter here, which we maybe could use, and perhaps this little one here, or maybe we can do a decoupage here. Let's try that and see if I put the 2 bodies together, how this comes together to work on the card. go. And wishing you a magical day. Let me try that and see what we come up with. Wishing you a magical day. And then we've got our two little butterflies that are glued together here. And maybe a little piece of black in the background, perhaps. Like that. Let me put a piece of white paper underneath this. I'm sure you all are struggling to see this today, and I apologize for not thinking about that before. So this piece was 4 1/4. I think I'll cut it back to 3 3/4, and that way we can have it come across the card in a band, and we'll trim this off when we get to that point. And I think I'll use my decorative edge scissors just to put a little bit of an edge on these sides of this piece of paper. And maybe the top and bottom too. It just adds a little more interest in what we're doing here. There we go. Now, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right down the middle of that piece. And put my piece of trim in the middle there. And there we have it. And then I'm going to put this up just a tiny bit. Maybe on a piece of foam. Right like that, perhaps. And then we'll use this down here on this edge. And maybe do our little butterflies over here like that. And perhaps add another one over here. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see what we end up with here. I'm going to glue this piece down flat because we've got a lot of other dimension going on here. Oh, there we have it. Now let me see. I kind of like that butterfly color better with that pink. It kind of ties it in, doesn't it? Let's try this one right here. This is one that I colored with my number 6 round paintbrush and some ink like we did a couple weeks ago. Some little gems on those dots on butterfly wings will be nice, won't they? There we go. And now maybe just a little bit of some keys, perhaps. Maybe a little double edge like that. Use this little piece up. Put some glue on the lower edge of that strip. And that adds yet another little bit of change in the topography of the embellishment that way. That's nice. I wonder if we could use this little butterfly here too. I don't care too much for that one with that card, and it's because it has some, this one I made by wetting my stamp and then stamping down before I stamped the darker image, and it just kind of washed it out a little bit more than I would have liked. Let's see about using, ooh, what about that? That might be really pretty on there. Let's do it. Let's do it. And that really changes the topography of this piece then, doesn't it? Oof. Wow. Well, that'll be an interesting card, won't it? Yes, it will. Okay, let's see what we have left here in the way of usable pieces to make. Ooh, there's a nice one. And then there's this piece here. Maybe one of these. Let me cut that. Put it on there. Possibly the polka dot. It's a little monochromatic, but it might work well with these little guys. I don't have any more type set to use. Got another little piece of that. A smaller piece might be a little bit better. Let's just see what we end up with. Let's see if I can get a little circle out of this. There we go. Maybe something like that. And then we'll do a little fussy cut on this. Possibly be able to add it, maybe not. We'll see. Not sure I like that. Let me clean my desk while I'm thinking about it. I found my little keys over here. That might be something interesting. Trouble is we just end up losing so much of it, but I kind of like that arrangement a little bit. And then we can do something like this, perhaps. Foam up this little guy, maybe. So start with that. And put a little ticket punch here and here, and that's all I can get to, so that's what we'll use there. And then let's go ahead and glue this little guy down. And it's okay if you cover up some of the artwork, like these two keys here. See, I think I want to keep this showing for sure. So let me just kind of bring this in a little bit like that. There, that's a nice little spot there. And you put a little ticket punch on these corners of this one. Like that. And then maybe this little guy here. That's a nice little cluster, isn't it? Let's do it. One thing about when you're clustering things, you cannot overthink them, because they just work like a little worm inside your brain going, oh, that's not right. But it's okay. It's okay. Got a little overzealous with my glue there. And now I'm going to glue this first butterfly down flat on this little piece. Right, like that. I'm going to tie all three of these elements together with it and move it up towards my little stamped image just a touch. And there we go. And then maybe it would have been nice to perhaps work a second one of these little guys in. Perhaps maybe up there. I'm going to leave this with this one, so when we build a card on Sunday, we'll have that. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have this little piece that I'm not sure about, but but we'll see. I have a few little pieces left from that pile of scraps that some of which are still usable, some of which really are not. For sure this one is. Let's see if we can find a little spot to stick this little guy, because it's pretty cool. This one needs something to brighten it up just a little bit somewhere, doesn't it? Let's try this. Possibly. I might add that right there. Shorten it up just a touch more. And then put my line of glue just here on the edge. There we go. And then I'm going to come in just like a little flag up underneath this sentiment here. There we go. And there's that one then. So let me see. These are all done. So I'm going to set this piece, these little scrappy pieces back to use on Sunday if we need them. And I'm going to bring out all the little embellishments that we've made. So that little pile of scraps has dwindled dramatically from when we started. I ended up adding a few more pieces. I added this little rose-colored piece and this little flag, and I think another piece to this, piece to that, and this second butterfly. And I ended up with only these two little strip scraps, which will be nice for the inside of a couple of cards. So this is what we ended up with. I probably will go back and add a few little gems to these as I study them this week in preparation for our video on Sunday. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you then.